I consider that when you're selling on online marketplaces, the buying price is not important, and we're going to figure out exactly why. Have you ever had a situation like this, for example, where you're working with a procurement manager and he comes in and happily announces, I'm having a great day today. I negotiated the purchase price down by 5%. Meaning the Chinese supplier agreed to lower the purchase price by 5%. And what would be the very first question that would come to your mind in a situation like this? For me, for example, my immediate thought would be, why? Was this truly the most essential thing that needed to be done? Perhaps there are some tasks that are of a higher priority. Let's try to understand this. First of all, I believe this happens because many of us come from retail, as I like to call it. That is, we spent many years working in retail sales. So how does the process typically unfold in retail? Yes, we absolutely must place an order for the product with our supplier, and at this particular stage, the procurement price is extremely crucial. Secondly, we also need to ensure this product is transported, and truly the weight and overall dimensions are quite important for the shipping costs, you know? This means, for example, shipping goods from a place like China to your main warehouse, and then subsequently distributing these very items from that warehouse to all your retail stores. Even before you've actually delivered your product to the marketplace, you absolutely must conduct product research. And I would argue, based on my experience, the weight and overall dimensions are sometimes even more crucial than the initial purchase price, because we've encountered situations, for instance, with textile products. Just imagine a simple towel or a large blanket. You can, for example, fold the blanket in very different ways. And of course, you mustn't forget about vacuum packing, which means sucking all the air out of the plastic. Secondly, you also need to carefully consider that perhaps if you create a package that's too large in one dimension, but then it's very small in another dimension, then quite possibly that's just an inefficient way of packaging. Because, for example, Amazon, in some of its operating regions, they have specific restrictions regarding whether a product is considered standard size or oversize, and we certainly wouldn't want to go beyond those particular limits. We have small parcels and we have middle parcels. What I mean is the weight and the overall dimensions, precisely how the item is going to be packaged, are considerably more important. The operational dynamics of traditional retail sales and the mechanisms of online e-commerce sales are, as the common expression states, two entirely distinct entities. For instance, in the realm of internet sales, we place a significantly greater emphasis on selling not just the product itself, but rather the comprehensive service and overall customer experience. Yes, you might certainly argue that this aspect is also present in traditional retail. It's much more pleasant to come into a clean, attractive store with a neat and appealing product display, with polite, pleasant, and attentive sales assistants, with consultants who are readily available, not ones you have to search for across 3 different floors, with cashiers who are at their stations with plenty of open checkouts, or with convenient self-service kiosks. Generally speaking, none of us enjoy standing in long queues. Yes, this issue certainly exists in traditional retail as well. I won't even argue that point. But in the realm of online sales, it actually plays an even more significant role. So let's just go ahead and enumerate all the various services that we are selling in addition to the product itself. Well, first, let's start from the very beginning. This product must be perfectly photographed, described, and presented to the client online in the best possible way, so that when a client has a question like, what's the height? Does this item have a lid or not? So that he can immediately understand from your content, your rich content, the answer to his question. This means everything starts even at the description stage. Why do Amazon and other marketplaces charge such substantial commissions? Well, it's because they provide the entire delivery infrastructure. I believe that the delivery infrastructure is probably the most expensive part of online sales. That is the delivery service itself, ensuring the item arrives, let's say, tomorrow in major cities, that the courier is pleasant, and generally that the product is intact and the packaging isn't damaged. So, delivery service is very expensive, but also very important. Now, clients have already gotten used to it. What What other services do we sell? We are selling items that have been returned to us. The marketplaces are always willing to accept the return of any product for any customer's request. By the way, when some of my acquaintances are happy that Amazon accepts Christmas tree returns in summer, I, to be honest, don't share that joy. Simply because I understand that all this overuse, this excessive use, this abuse of the system will ultimately still be factored into the cost. And I, as a customer, will be paying for the fact that some other customers, and hopefully there aren't too many of them, so we won't have to pay an excessive amount, but for the fact that some other customers are overusing or rather abusing the rules, yes. So in total, we provide along with Amazon returns, and we also offer customer support. Some online stores are putting a lot of effort into this, especially because it's currently such a unique selling proposition that we will answer any question you might have. We are always available. So let's summarize and break it down step by step when it actually makes sense to negotiate for the price and when it simply doesn't make any sense at all. The very first thing that you absolutely need to do is to clearly understand what exact portion of your total cost of goods sold is represented by the initial purchase price. What exactly do I mean when I refer to the total cost of goods? It is the purchase price itself plus all of the various expenses that you inevitably incur. This includes Amazon's commission, fulfillment fees, storage fees, marketing fees, and many other additional costs. These are the expenses, any and all other expenditures directly associated with sales, meaning the cost involved in production, for content management, for providing customer support, and a whole host of various other operational expenses. Therefore, the absolute first and most crucial step that you must undertake is to meticulously determine the comprehensive and complete cost of the product itself. Next, we look at the share of the purchase cost. Let's say a supplier sells you some product, for example, a step ladder for $10, but your full cost comes out to $20. And always bear in mind that if a supplier has agreed to give a 5% discount, meaning they're selling it not for $10 but for $9.50, then from the final price of $20, this particular discount amounts to only 2.5%. So it's crucial to always keep this in mind. Secondly, you should be thinking not only about how to negotiate a better price from your supplier, but also how to effectively reduce all of your other associated costs, which ultimately make up those final $20. It could be that we're spending too much money on marketing, or perhaps we're allocating too many funds to production, or even to customer support. So it's crucial to always set your priorities straight and keep in mind that what we're offering online is primarily a service.